Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Last Messiah Nights, and we're bringing you this episode in regards to Donald Trump and why are the Jews, the Israeli Jews, actually backing Trump to the point to which he can say things that are so blasphemous. He can do things that are so blasphemous on holy ground towards the holy people in America and abroad, but this is particularly in Israel. And he still gets great kudos from it. I'm perplexed. Don't send me anything. I don't want your money. I would love your fanfare because I have some information you need to know. But if you do want to make a donation, donate to charities like this.
It's not a toy he wants this holiday.
Nice clothes, not on her list.
What these kids want, your kids have. Their health.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting for kids who aren't as lucky as yours.
The discovery that St. Jude can help save children close to you.
Our treatments are used in hospitals all across America.
Woe unto thee, O Israel! You have sinned a great sin in the sight of God.
The Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which, as everyone knows, is ISIS's ultimate trophy. I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president. Because it's true. It's true. Because this would not have happened. ISIS would have been eradicated, unlike what is happening now.
It was built on the spot where Christians believe Jesus was born. It's called the Church of the Nativity. If you consult UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites or ask travel expert Rick Steves, both will tell you that the church is in Palestine. But when a question about the church's location came up during a round of Jeopardy in January 2020...
Built in the 300s AD, the Church of the Nativity.
What is Palestine?
No. What is Israel? That's it.
That answer set off something of an internet firestorm. That's because what you call this land, and who controls it, is at the center of a decades-long conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. But more recently, there is also a third group that is becoming more and more influential here and throughout the Middle East: American evangelical Christians. Today, evangelical Christians are one of the most politically powerful voting blocs in the United States. And in the Trump administration, they've been given unprecedented power. They've turned support for Israel and hostility towards its enemies into core tenets of conservative ideology. And a big part of those policies is rooted in how they interpret the Bible. In 2016, more than a quarter of all U.S. voters identified as white evangelical Christians. One of the primary differences between evangelicals and other Christians is their relationship with the Bible.
Conservative evangelicals believe that the Bible is literally true.
Sarah Posner writes about religion for a bunch of different publications.
Many of them believe that the Bible is sort of this prophetic roadmap for modern life, that events described and prophesied in the Bible will become true.
The Bible is the most historically accurate book ever penned.
The Bible is the one book that dares to predict the future with 100% accuracy.
For evangelicals, the most important of the Bible's prophecies is the second coming, when Jesus will return to earth. The Bible doesn't say when this will happen, but it does say where.
This is Jerusalem. World history as we know it is going to end right here.
Greg Laurie.
Respect for Germany. My father's from Germany. Both of my parents are from the EU.
Don't forget, both my parents were born in EU sectors, okay? I mean, my mother was Scotland, my father was Germany. Born in a very wonderful...
I didn't say capable. Of course we're capable. I'm carrying a pistol. I go to the gym all the time. I'm trying to make myself more capable of violence. I'm here to spread ideas, talk, in the hopes that somebody more capable will come along and do that. Somebody like Donald Trump who does not give his daughter to a Jew.
So Donald Trump, but like more racist.
A lot more racist than Donald Trump. I don't think that you could feel about race the way I do and watch that Kushner bastard walk around with that beautiful girl, okay?
This is a man who said, my daughter is hot. Even people in Arkansas went, that's freaking wrong.
He shows you no land flowing with milk and honey. I show you a God of gold. Come with me. Follow me. Blasphemers, idolaters. For this you shall drink bitter waters. God has set before you this day his laws of life and good and death and evil. Those who will not live by the law shall die by the law.
Beware the false idol. In this case, the infamous gold fiberglass statue of Donald Trump. You know, the big gaudy celebration of the former president wearing flip-flops that was unveiled at CPAC, you know, with all the pomp and circumstance. It delighted his supporters who appeared, it got worshipped with a lot of attention. But now we find out that the statue that the artist and Trump fan initially said was made in Mexico, as first reported by Politico Playbook, was actually made in China. Yes, China, the same country.
To the no, 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 yeah, to the no, yeah, to the no, to the no, no, no. Listen, I got people in the church smoking weed, drinking with
Trump, and how he's really just a giant gift to the Jewish people. Okay, and immediately following that, Trump decided to tweet his statements, and here's what he said. Thank you to Wayne Allen Root for the very nice words. President Trump is the greatest president for Jews and for Israel in the history of the world, not just America. He is the best president for Israel in the history of the world, and the Jewish people in Israel love him.
Before we go on to even more outrageous parts of that tweet, as it's going to continue, best president in history of the world. Israel's been around for 70 years. So, and even if you say, hey, look, ancient Israel, etc., they didn't have presidents back then. So it's a preposterous statement. And not only that, it's not remotely true. As I've said, U.S. presidents have literally saved Israel from getting wiped off the map. They came in to defend them militarily, etc., when they were attacked. And we have come to the aid of Israel in dozens of occasions, including many wars. So Trump, come lately, going around going, hey, you know, I moved the embassy. I'm the greatest president for Israel in the history of the world. Wayne Allen Root said it, and I'm quoting it. But we haven't gotten to the worst part at all.
We haven't, but I have one quick comment about the tweet, the first tweet. He's the best president for Jews in America? Like, so was he the best president for Jews in America when he said that there were very fine people at the hate march in Charlottesville, Virginia, who were literally chanting, "The Jews will not replace us." Does he really think that Jewish Americans are like, you know what, Trump's great. He's the best president ever.
He thinks that there's some very fine Nazis who were chanting those things and at one point had surrounded a synagogue in Charlottesville and threatening them. He's been fantastic. No, he's been good for the right-wing government of specifically Benjamin Netanyahu, who has not been good for Israel. And the great majority of Jewish Americans vote against Donald Trump and against Republicans on a consistent basis because they know the reality, not the lies of Donald Trump.
So the second part of his tweet reads as follows, and the Jewish people in Israel love him like he's the king of Israel. They love him like he's the second coming of God. We'll come back to that in just a second. But American Jews don't know him or like him. They don't even know what they're doing or saying anymore. It makes no sense, but that's okay. If he keeps doing what he's doing, he's good for all Jews, blacks, gays, everyone. And importantly, he's good for everyone in America who wants a job. Wow.
So the wow is Trump. The rest is Alan Root's quote that he is re-quoting on Twitter wholesale. Okay, so evangelical Christians, you still pretending, if you're a right-winger, you're still pretending to be Christian? Can you imagine if Barack Obama called himself the second coming of God? Can you imagine?
To the no, 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 yeah, to the no, yeah, to the no, to the no, no, no. Listen, I got people in the church smoking.
Quote, the greatest president for Jews and Israel, and also for saying that, quote, they love him, Trump, like he's the second coming of God. Now, these tweets come after the president made a provocative statement calling Jewish Americans who vote for Democrats, quote, disloyal. A sentiment he later doubled down on. Listen.
I will tell you this. In my opinion, the Democrats have gone very far away from Israel. I cannot understand how they can do that. They don't want to fund Israel. They want to take away foreign aid to Israel. They want to do a lot of bad things to Israel. In my opinion, you vote for a Democrat, you're being very disloyal to Jewish people, and you're being very disloyal to Israel. And only weak people would say anything other than that.
A lot to fact check there and a lot to dis.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. The president is at pains to make it exceedingly clear that he thinks that the more than 5 million Jewish Americans who live in this country, secular and religious, Orthodox, Reform, proudly and ardently Zionist and not Zionist, are fundamentally, essentially, foreign citizens of the state of Israel whose primary loyalties are to that state.
Any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty. All right?
Disloyalty, okay. Well, that was Donald Trump yesterday, and many Jewish groups condemned Trump, including the Anti-Defamation League and the American Jewish Committee. But some Jewish Republicans insisted the comments were not as bad as they sounded, you know, dual loyalty accusations being a hallmark of anti-Semitism going hundreds of years back. A Washington Post reporter interviewed the executive director of the Republican Jewish Coalition, Matt Brooks, who claimed that Trump was talking about, and I'm quoting here, being true to yourself, like an internal loyalty, rather than being loyal to Israel. He went on a limb to defend the president. Today, Trump just completely sawed that limb off.
In my opinion, you vote for a Democrat, you're being very disloyal to Jewish people, and you're being very disloyal to Israel.
He said it, very disloyal to Israel. Pretty clear. He's saying that any Jewish American that votes for a Democrat, which, by the way, is about 80% of Jewish Americans, are disloyal, not to America, but to a foreign government. The Republican Jewish Coalition was then left to claim they, quote, take the president seriously, not literally, which I guess is just about all they had left. This charge of loyalty to foreign government is one of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes there is. The idea that Jews aren't really Americans, they're a fifth column, a fundamentally foreign and disloyal populace within our borders. Many of the same people who are defending Trump today attacked Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for her comments after she questioned the political influence in the U.S., quote, that says it's okay to push for an allegiance to a foreign country. And yet they deny that Trump is anti-Semitic, even though his latest comments aren't just some slip of the tongue. I mean, Trump talks to Jewish Americans as though he were talking to Israelis, not Americans. And he repeatedly traffics in anti-Semitic tropes. Listen to how he talks to American Jewish Republicans.
You're not going to support me because I don't want your money. You want to control your own politician. That's fine. I stood with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I stood with your Prime Minister at the White House.
Okay, wait, do you hear that? I stood with your Prime Minister at the White House. Your Prime Minister. You guys as Prime Minister. To a group of Americans, American Jews. The president views Jews as a foreign entity that he's a kind of weird transactional relationship with. He seems to believe that because he, say, moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and even had a big party with Ivanka present, that all American Jews should support him now. Never mind that only a small percentage of American Jews ever wanted or cared about that. Trump acts as though, because he has ceded to the requests of the most right-wing elements of the Israeli government, Jews should, well, treat him like the second coming. Really. This morning, in what was, I mean, even by the standards of our era, a truly bizarre moment, Trump posted a transcription on Twitter of a quote from an infamous right-wing crackpot conspiracy theorist who claimed that Jews in Israel love Trump, and I'm quoting here, like he's the king of Israel. They love him like he is the second coming of God. There was no first coming for the Jews. That's the point. That's kind of the whole thing. By the way, the crackpot who said that has suggested that President Barack Obama was hell-bent on killing all Americans, the mass shooting in Las Vegas was coordinated by Muslims, and the Democrats were behind the murders of Seth Rich and Heather Heyer, among other many lies. That's who the President of the United States was quoting. After that, whether intentional or not, Trump finished his morning by grumpily yelling at the White House hedges, along with the assembled press corps, about a trade war he's trying to distance himself from, and he looked up at the sky and declared the following.
Intellectual property theft. Add that to it. And add a lot of other things to it. So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
Sound crazy to some of you guys, but I just don't believe Biden will be president. I don't. And I'm not going to try to do a cop-out and say, oh, maybe it's because Kamala Harris is going to be president. No, I believe right now, after all this prayer that I've been doing, that Trump will be president. And something big is coming.
It's all leading up to what's coming up in January 20th. And so I've said this many times before, but please reserve throwing your stones at me until January 20th.
First of all, I want to say without question, Trump is going to win the election. And that doesn't mean you sit home and don't vote. That means you get out and do everything you can to work. But he's going to win. That's, I think, a given.
Because I am speaking from the future.
Yes, you are.
This moment.
Right this moment.
And I am going to proclaim that President Trump will be president of the United States.
Hallelujah.
In Jesus' name.
Come on. Woo. Yeah, no. To the no. Yeah, to the no. Yeah, to the no. To the no. Listen. I got people in the church smoking weed, drinking whiskey, they're drinking a lot of gin.
Political convenience. Trump doesn't come across as the most devout president that there's ever been, and
he's not devout.
And you are the most outwardly Christian broadcaster in the country, and yet you still support him.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I think I joined with a lot of people waking up the day after the election going, what just happened?
Trump may value CBN, and CBN may value the access it gets, but that doesn't mean there's any value in the news it's producing, and that's coming from someone who should know.
10 years before Fox News came on the scene, we wrote the playbook for conservative news. We called it TV News with a Different Spirit. And all it was an attempt to insert conservative propaganda into the news.
I am convinced this is a nation under God.
In the end, right-wing news is only propaganda. It's not news. There's no attempt to be unbiased. And I think it's gone so far now that the public isn't aware of that, but that's still what we created.
Blame me. I'm the one who has is saying, I don't want to play gotcha journalism. I think there's plenty of place in the news space today where you're going to hear that other side. What is missing, I think, in the landscape is, well, what is it that they're really trying to say? What is that unedited version?
That unedited version is what CBN audiences have been hearing around the clock for the past month.
We are so excited to introduce the CBN News Channel. News from a Christian perspective, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The Gospel of Trump, 24/7.
Diseases.
The discriminatory policies at the border resembled horrific events elsewhere in the world. In fact, while researching this, David stumbled upon a detail. The fumigation of Mexican immigrants wasn't just reminiscent of Nazi Germany, it was directly linked to it.
It's not so much that the United States was copying Nazi Germany, it's the opposite. Nazi Germany was copying the United States.
He found that in the 1920s, the US started using Zyklon B, an extremely poisonous acid gas, to fumigate clothing at the border. And in 1937, in a German pest science journal, a scientist called for the use of Zyklon B in Nazi disinfection chambers. He included 2 photos of El Paso's delousing chambers as an example of how effective Zyklon B had been at the US border to kill unwanted pests. The same scientist pushed to use it to disinfect concentration camps, and eventually it was used in concentrated doses to murder millions of people.
People, rightly so, say you can't compare.
You. He loves you. He loves you, and he needs money. He always needs money. He's all power.
When CPAC used to be where Ron Paul would win every presidential straw poll, and it was considered like the kooky kind of fringe aspect of the Republican Party, now you still won't see a Mitch McConnell there because he's not welcome, but it's the mainstream of the party. Like,
that's right.
Literally, they did a Nebuchadnezzar golden statue, golden calf, worshiping idolatrous moment to start it as people cheered the golden Trump as it rolled down the hall in its flip-flops. That is the mainstream of the Republican Party. And listen, I say this as somebody whose father was a hardcore Reaganite. So I know what Reaganism used to look like. And there was a certain hero worship of Ronald Reagan as well. That was a part of the growing up process of people, you know, in the old school Republican Party, right? That's what they sort of came up on. And in their mind, it was about ideas. I think for a lot of black folks who were like, it was about something other than that. But it seemed like it was about, we have these ideas about limited government and sort of, economic conservatism and social conservatism and preserving a certain social order. Now, all of what Republicanism and conservatism, at least their brand of it, has come down to is worship of Nebuchadnezzar, of Donald Trump. Purely idolatry. Worshiping him in day, night, and in act and deed. That's it. That is the only thing that makes you a Republican right now. And I don't know how you rescue a party that is that idolatrous and is that sort of denuded of ideas and of policies. Their only policy is to get on their knees and worship a former reality show star who couldn't even make casinos work in Atlantic City.
They've sinned a great sin in the sight of God. You are not worthy to receive these 10 commandments. The wind of God. The wind of God. On you. We're gathered against you, Moses. You take too much upon yourself. We will not live by your commandments. We're free. There is no freedom without the law. Whose law, Moses? You.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with your friends and your enemies for that matter. Share it with everybody. Share it with the world. People need to know this. Jews should know this. Anyway, remember, if you would like to make a donation, don't send me anything. I don't want your money. I would love your fanfare. because I have some information you need to know. But if you do want to make a donation, donate to charities like this. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. But if you do donate, donate from the mind and the heart. Donate in the name of God. In care of Last Messiah Nights, that is, too. To charities like this. Hit it.
This video was made possible.
It's not a toy he wants this holiday.
Nice clothes, not on her list.
What these kids want, your kids have. Their health.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting for kids who aren't as lucky as yours.
The discovery that St. Jude can help save children close to you.
Our treatments are used in hospitals all across America.
Thanks to our research, St. Jude has the world's best.